Asterisk, Mom, you won't be joining us. Tanya wants this vacation to be just her family. I read my son's message 3 times, then I looked at the suitcase beside me. Inside were 2 dresses, my late husband James's photograph, a lavender candle for the memorial I had planned, and little souvenir bags I had prepared for each grandchild. For 3 years I had saved for this trip. I had paid for the beachfront villa. I had booked the flights. I had arranged the airport transfers, the rental car, the dinners, the excursions, the snorkeling lessons, even the breakfast baskets. The total in my travel fund was $21,763. And now, 2 nights before departure, my son had reduced everything I had done to 1 sentence. Asterisk, you've already done your part by paying. That was when I finally understood. I wasn't their mother on this trip. I was their wallet. I put my phone face down on the kitchen table. For a few minutes I simply sat there in the darkness, listening to the refrigerator hum. I had imagined this trip for years. I had imagined my grandchildren running across the beach. I had imagined Nathan, my son, standing beside me in the same place where his father and I had spent our honeymoon decades earlier. I had imagined placing James's photograph on the dinner table, lighting a lavender candle, and telling everyone stories about the man they had lost. Instead, I had been erased from the vacation I had paid for. And the strangest part? I wasn't even surprised, because the signs had been there for years. I just hadn't wanted to see them. My daughter-in-law Tanya had slowly taken control of every family occasion. Holidays moved to her mother's house. Birthdays were organized without me. Family photographs became smaller and smaller. At Thanksgiving, she would smile and say, "Let's get one of just the kids." Then another photograph would be taken of our family unit. By the time someone remembered me, the moment was already over. Once Tanya introduced me to someone by saying, "Nathan's mom is here too, not Marilyn, not grandma, just Nathan's mom." As though I were an extra person standing somewhere outside the family circle. Still, I kept believing things would change, because Nathan was my son. The boy who once brought me pink tulips every March. The little boy who drew a picture of me wearing a cape and wrote underneath it, "Asterisk, my mom saves the day." I kept that picture for decades. I thought the boy who had once loved me that fiercely was still somewhere inside the man he had become. So I planned the Hawaii trip, not because I wanted luxury, because I wanted a memory. My husband James and I had visited Hawaii on our honeymoon when we were young and broke. We shared 1 suitcase, we split sandwiches. James got badly sunburned and spent the rest of the trip walking around wrapped in a sheet like a ridiculous superhero. We laughed more during that trip than we ever had before. After James died, I made myself a promise. One day I would take our family there. I wanted Nathan to stand on the same sand his father had walked on. I wanted my grandchildren to know that place. I wanted one beautiful family memory, so I started saving. At first it was $5 here, $10 there. I kept an old mason jar in the kitchen and called it my dream jar. I canceled little luxuries. I stopped buying things I wanted. I tutored students online at night. Sometimes my eyes hurt from staring at the screen. Sometimes my joints ached. But I kept saving. 3 years passed. Every sacrifice had a purpose. That purpose was family. Or at least that's what I believed. The night I received Nathan's message, I opened my laptop. The travel account showed asterisk 21,063. I stared at the number. Then I looked at the booking documents. The villa, the flights, the rental car, the excursions. Everything was connected to my account. I had created it. I had funded it. And I was the only account holder. There were no co-signers, no shared owners. No one else had legal authority over the money. Then I noticed something I hadn't expected. The final travel documents had already been sent to me. I opened them. 8 names. Nathan, Tanya. Their 2 children, Tanya's parents, Tanya's sister's boyfriend. I counted again, 8. I wasn't there, not as a guest, not as a passenger, not even as an afterthought. 8 people were going to Hawaii using money I had spent 3 years saving. And apparently, I was supposed to stay home. I closed the laptop. For the first time, the truth became painfully simple. They hadn't forgotten me. Asterisk, they had chosen to exclude me. And they had assumed I would still pay. That was the moment something inside me changed. Not anger. Clarity. The next afternoon, Tanya called. Her voice was cheerful. "We're almost finished packing. I hope everything is okay money-wise. The final payment goes through tomorrow, right?" I paused. Then I asked, "Is there anything you need me to bring?" Silence. "Bring games for the kids, snacks, maybe motion sickness bands." Her voice changed. "Marilyn, we've got everything handled." Then came the sentence that confirmed everything. "You really don't need to worry about the trip. It might be better if you stayed home and rested." Rested. That was the word she used. They had excluded me and somehow wanted me to believe it was a favor. After the call ended, I walked to the small lockbox where I kept my travel documents. I opened it. My name was everywhere. Asterisk account holder, Marilyn Rose Monroe, no authorized users, no co-signers, mine, all of it. I sat at the kitchen table. For years, I had believed generosity meant giving without conditions. But there is a difference between generosity and allowing people to take advantage of you. And suddenly, I knew exactly where the line was. I didn't call Nathan. I didn't scream at Tanya. I didn't threaten anyone. Instead, I sent Nathan one final message. "Let me know if you need help with the kids' bags or snacks before the trip." He read it. No response. An hour passed. Then 2. Nothing. That was all the confirmation I needed. I opened the travel account. Every booking was linked to it. I activated the account's transaction lock. All outgoing charges were paused. The linked cards were disabled. Manual authorization would now be required. I closed the laptop, then I made tea. That was it. No shouting, no revenge speech, no dramatic announcement, just silence. For the first time, I wasn't trying to convince my family to love me. I was simply refusing to finance people who had decided I wasn't family enough to join them. The next morning they went to the airport. I knew because Tanya posted photographs, matching beach hats, matching luggage, the children smiling, Nathan making a peace sign. Her caption said, off to parody only. I stared at those two words, family only, then I put my phone down. A few minutes later Nathan messaged, "Hey, we're getting some weird errors at check-in. Can you check the travel account?" I didn't answer. Another message came. They're saying the card was declined. Then another. "Mom, can you look at this?" Then the calls started. One, then another, then several in a row. Finally, a voicemail. "Mom, I don't know what's going on, but we can't get the rental confirmed. Please check the account." I still didn't respond. Then another voicemail. "Mom, please, the kids are here. Just tell me if something happened." I sat quietly at my kitchen table. The same table where I had wrapped their souvenirs. The same table where I had planned their dinners. The same table where I had once dreamed about our family vacation. Now I understood something. They were discovering my value only because they could no longer use it. A message came later from Nathan. "Mom, I don't know what you did, but if this is because of the text, can we please talk?" Notice what he didn't say. He didn't say, "I'm sorry," he didn't say, "We were wrong," he didn't say, "You should have been invited." He simply wanted to talk because their plans were falling apart. I didn't unlock anything. The trip was cancelled. The bookings were reversed. The money began returning to my account. The travel fund that had once represented 3 years of sacrifice was mine again. But I wasn't going to use it the same way. That night I opened a notebook. At the top of a blank page I wrote "deserve to be seen." Then I started writing names: Carol, Louise, Frances, Beverly, Nora, Lucille. Women I knew who had spent their lives caring for everyone else. Women whose children had forgotten them. Women who had buried husbands. Women who had spent years looking after grandchildren, siblings, and families without anyone asking what they wanted. I thought about something Nora had once told me. The worst part of getting older isn't the pain, it's becoming invisible. I understood that sentence now, because I had felt invisible myself, so I picked up the phone. The first woman I called was Carol. "Would you like to go to Hawaii with me?" Silence. And she laughed nervously. "Marilyn, what are you talking about?" "I mean Hawaii. 1 week. No catch." "Why me?" I smiled. "Because someone should choose you." Then I called Beverly, then Frances, then Nora, then Lucille. Each conversation followed the same pattern: confusion, disbelief, questions. "Why me?" "Because you matter." I booked a villa, 6 women, 7 days. No family politics, no pretending, no one had to earn a place at the table. This time I made the reservation in my own name, and when we arrived I carried James's photograph inside. I placed it in the center of the dining table. Nobody asked me to move it. Nobody rolled their eyes. Nobody told me we needed a picture without him. They simply smiled. That first night we sat beneath the warm lights while the ocean moved beyond the open doors. Carol laughed so hard she nearly spilled her drink. Frances cried when she saw the view from her bedroom. Beverly kept saying, "I can't believe I'm actually here." I looked around the table, and something hit me. This was the family I had been searching for, not because we shared blood, because we shared something more important. We knew what it meant to give. We knew what it meant to be overlooked, and we knew what it meant to finally be seen. Every evening we lit a candle beside James's photograph. Each woman shared one memory, one regret, one thing she wished someone had told her when she was younger. "I see you. You're allowed to rest. You don't have to earn love. Your story matters. You are not a burden." Those words stayed with me, because they were the exact words I had needed to hear. On our final night, we walked along the beach. The moon reflected across the water. The women walked beside me barefoot. For the first time in years, I wasn't thinking about Nathan. I wasn't waiting for an apology. I wasn't wondering whether Tanya finally understood. I wasn't imagining some future family reunion where everyone suddenly realized what I had done for them. I had stopped carrying that hope, and strangely, letting it go didn't feel like losing. It felt like breathing. 3 days after we returned, an email arrived from Nathan. Just want to clear the air. I stared at it before opening it. He explained that the vacation hadn't gone as planned. He said Tanya was stressed. He said things had been communicated poorly. He said maybe they hadn't been fair, but there was no real apology. Then came the part that mattered. They were struggling financially because they had needed to rebook things. Nathan asked if I could return the original deposit they had supposedly contributed. I read the sentence again. Then I checked my records. There was no shared fund, no contribution, no deposit from them. Every payment had come from me. They hadn't invested money into the vacation. They had invested expectation. They expected me to pay. They expected me to stay quiet. They expected me to accept being excluded. And they expected me to keep helping even after they had made it clear they didn't want me around. I closed the email. I didn't reply. Not because I hated my son. I didn't. I loved him. But love doesn't require surrender. And forgiveness doesn't mean giving someone unlimited access to you. For years, I had confused being needed with being loved. That was my mistake. Sometimes people don't realize how much you've done for them until you stop doing it. They call you difficult when you establish boundaries. They call you selfish when you stop sacrificing. They call you cold when you finally become unavailable to manipulation. But sometimes what looks like coldness is simply exhaustion ending. I had spent years trying to earn a place in a family that had already decided where I belonged. Outside the photograph, outside the conversation, outside the table. But Hawaii taught me something I should have understood much earlier. Family isn't always the people who share your blood. Sometimes family is the person who notices when you're quiet, the friend who remembers your birthday, the woman who holds your hand when you cry, the people who make room for you without asking what you can give them first. That trip was supposed to reconnect me with my son. Instead, it reconnected me with myself. On the final evening, I brought out the last lavender candle. It was the candle I had originally packed for my biological family. I placed James's photograph in front of me. The women became quiet. I struck the match. The flame appeared. I looked at James's smiling face. This was supposed to be for my family, I said. Then I smiled. But maybe it was always meant for this. Beverly reached across the table and held my hand. I didn't think I'd ever feel this again, she whispered. What? Like I mattered. I squeezed her hand. You do. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. So do you. That was the moment I realized I hadn't lost my family. I had discovered what family was supposed to feel like. When I returned home, the house was exactly as I had left it. The same kitchen, the same refrigerator, the same old chair James used to sit in. But I was different. I no longer waited for Nathan to call. I no longer checked whether Tanya had included me in another family photograph. I no longer wondered what I could do to make myself more useful. I had finally stopped asking, what do I need to do so they'll love me? And started asking, what kind of life do I want to live now? The answer was simple, a life where I was present, a life where I was respected, a life where generosity was a choice, not an obligation, a life where I never again confused being someone's wallet with being someone's family. I still love my son. But I no longer chase him. I still love my grandchildren, but I no longer buy their affection. And I still believe family can heal. But healing requires two people, not one person apologizing while the other keeps taking. Years of kindness had taught my family that I would always say yes. One message taught me to say no, not loudly, not cruelly, just firmly. And that no gave me back something I hadn't realized I had lost. My dignity, my peace, my future. I thought I was losing a family vacation. What I actually lost was the illusion that my sacrifice was being appreciated. And once that illusion disappeared, I could finally see the truth. I had spent 3 years building a dream for people who never intended to make room for me. So I stopped building for them. I started building for myself. And when I looked around that Hawaiian table at 6 women who had once believed they were invisible, I realized something beautiful. I had not been left behind. Asterisk, I had simply found the people who were willing to walk beside me. Sometimes the people who reject you are not ending your story. They're opening the door to the life you were too afraid to choose. And sometimes the greatest revenge isn't watching someone else lose. It's realizing you don't need them to win anymore. I didn't take their vacation away because I wanted them to suffer. I took my money back because they had already taken something far more valuable from me for years. My belief that I deserved a seat at the table. Now I know better. I don't need to beg for a seat. I bring my own table, and I choose who sits beside me.